All right. And here we go. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player. Give it up. The European Showtime. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player. Once again, representing Team Liquid. Wasn't quite so lucky in that last series. Was not able to take it, but still ended up getting the advance on. Can he make the most of the opportunity? Give it up for TLO. Dr. Dario, still Mr. Creative, and still a very, very beloved player, I think, by many, myself included. But okay. PvZ, a bit of a different matchup than that Protoss versus Terran shenaniganry that can sometimes happen, as we saw in that last series. There are definitely some all-ins you can throw out, but the weird things that come out in PvZ, I would say, are a lot of those big Stargate plays, the air toss style, the Golden Armada. And it's not really quite as common on Belshir Vestige. In fact, I don't think I've seen a game of Protoss trying to go for the air toss style, the Golden Armada, on Belshir Vestige before. And I guess now that I think about it, I can't really think of too many reasons why. This isn't that crazy of a base to defend on 3 bases. I mean, you kind of have these nice destructible rocks over here, filters in the pathway. You kind of position your army around this area, and as long as you have some vision on this side that you can try and keep with your Oracle that you open up with, or even your Phoenix, you can do a pretty nice job of defending your 3 bases. And it's a pretty long distance across the map too. Either way, I'd be very surprised if we end up seeing it. I'd love to know from some professional Protoss players why they don't really like doing it on this map, or why we don't see it very often. But okay. Natural expansion gets denied by the very pesky probe, so he's gonna have to wait for those Zerglings to finish on up before he can take his 3rd expansion there. As he just says, yeah, I'll just take my other expansion a little bit faster, get that creep spread going, gonna be a little bit safer and a little bit easier to defend. Drone's gonna have to transfer a bit further of a distance, but shouldn't be the end of the world for him. Probe also retreats on out, saying, okay, I know the timing when these Zerglings are gonna be popping out. I'm not gonna lose a probe for absolutely no reason. Sip out the Zonga watchtower and keep an eye out to see how many are gonna be making their way across the map. Kind of interesting. Showtime goes for the gap over here before really finishing everything else off. But goes for the Stargate. This is always the funny thing. Every Protoss player does this now. And I've seen enough Protoss players hold off against big Ro8 Ravager all-ins and Ling Baneling all-ins that it doesn't surprise me too much, but it's always a bit funny to me. The Protoss players delay their Mothership Core so much these days. They go for those Stargates so much faster. They get up Warp Gate, they get up their first Adept, they get up all these other units before they finally get up that Mothership Core. And it's not a mistake, it's just something that Protoss players have realized, yeah, I can actually just defend really, really well as long as I play really well and I micro very well. Even gonna get the Oracle before the Mothership Core even starts up, so it doesn't really provide him a lot of foots and overcharge energy. I think this is a little bit greedier than I sometimes see Protoss players play, but I think that it's gonna work out just fine. TLO is doing nothing but droning up, getting him some of these Spore Crawlers to help defend against potential of Stargate play. I don't believe he's... Oh, no, okay, he's gotten everything scouted out. There's no Stalkers to ward off this Overlord. It's just gonna idle on top of this and probably even actually see whether or not there's a second unit starting up. If there's a second Oracle, if it's gonna be a Phoenix, or if it's just gonna be a transition out. There is a Twilight Council that's already down, and TLO scouts out 3 gateways. I don't think he sees this Twilight Council, but maybe able to start making some assumptions. Okay, it's not super duper common to already have just 3 gateways down, as well as so many Adepts if you are looking to go really heavily committed into Stargate play. Voider is going to be on the way, and Overlord doesn't... I think he actually did see a glimpse of it, yeah. Should have been able to tell. Oracle moves around, though, and not quite able to find any opportunities of attacks, so ends up backing up, not even really using energy to try and attack. TLO just a little bit too good on the defense so far, as he has all the Spore Crawlers and the Queens down in the right positions. A decent number of Zerglings are out, potentially looking to try and deny a 3rd expansion, but Showtime is playing a little bit more defensive and not really moving out with his early Adepts. He's got that Oracle, and that's pretty much all the map vision that he really cares about right now. Surprisingly enough, Showtime now sitting up 46 workers to 40. TLO has been making a lot of these Zerglings and now making 7 Banelings. He really wants to try and deny a third expansion or get some damage done. And Showtime just continues to move in, scout out, and sees, oh, your drone saturation in your natural is really, really low. So I feel like he's got to be thinking, okay, I need to start preparing. I need to be prepared for a big attack. And that big attack is going to be waddling its way on in. Void Ray going to be making some use of itself. Sniping off 2 Banelings, 3 Banelings before they even get close to the Adepts. 4 more Banelings do survive, but these Adepts are going to be getting it very, very quickly by them. Still, good positioning from Showtime. Doesn't really take too many losses. In fact, I don't even know. Did he take... He lost 1 Adept. That's it. Kills off 4 Banelings, and that's not including the Banelings that also self-detonated and didn't get the greatest hits off. Showtime takes a massive lead after that, I think. And now he's going to make his way across the map. He's got the Oracle still alive and building up energy. TLO kind of flubs over there, and he invested a lot into that. He was on a low drone count for a while. He delayed his lair attack. He doesn't have any other form of transition. He doesn't even have a Roach Warren. Is he just gonna die over here? Beautiful splits over here from Showtime. And then Shades on out of there after he eats 1 Baneling hit. Those Adepts are gonna regenerate some of the shields. GG is called, TLO taps out, and Showtime takes a very decisive game number 1. Okie dokie. Showtime with a, a straightforward game in a sense. I was a bit surprised because I felt like Showtime didn't really get too much damage on with his Oracle. He was just playing very passive with it. And I wonder if it was an intentional decision where he noticed some of the signs of TLO going for that big attack even before I did, being a really top-level GM Protoss player. And was thinking, oh, your drone saturation's lower, oh, you don't have a Roach Warren, things are looking a little bit strange. And he decided to save that Oracle energy in case he needed it for an earlier attack, but ended up not needing it. But we get ready to hop into the next game. Game number 2 is going to be on Abyssal Reef, and I do have a map intro for this one, so we'll hop over to that map intro, and I'll see you guys in a second. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, hopping into that second game from the round of 8 match. And we are going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Top of the red Protoss player sitting up 1-0. Put your hands together for Showtime. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. It's the blue Zerg player representing Team Liquid. It's the little one, who's had a bit of a rough day already, losing 2-0 to Optimus, and then getting the advance on because Optimus couldn't play, but then going down 0-1 versus Showtime in such a kind of one-sided game. TLO is probably not feeling great about it. But if he can bounce back from this, he is one of those players that I think has so much potential. He is a bit of a volatile player. If you were tuning in for the EU Ladder Hero, or sorry, the NA Ladder Heroes broadcast, we're talking about volatile versus stable players, and TLO definitely is one of those more volatile players. He has the potential for huge upsets. He has very high highs, but he also has some pretty big lows. And the question is, can he channel the right side of him, the best side of him that brings out the best play from himself? Does take that low ground 3rd expansion hatchery as his first expansion. Just because that probe is, of course, going to be annoying. But Showtime in that last game, he opened up with the Oracle, didn't get a lot of damage done, but just was able to hold off against TLO's kind of weird forms of aggression. I think TLO is really hoping to catch Showtime off guard, but Showtime saw everything on time. He caught a glimpse of all of those signs that he needed and was able to defend without any forms of problems. So what is TLO going to do this game? And of course that is going to prompt how does Showtime to respond differently. Showtime is one of those players that I always think of as a very strong macro player. I think that he's had periods of time where he's gone for kind of really big attacks, but I mean, what Protoss player has not gone for those kind of big 2-base all-ins in the past? Abyssal Reef, though, definitely a map that has a reputation, not quite as much as Proxima, but has a reputation of seeing a lot of Protoss players go for that Stargate into carrier play. Going into really, really fast air toss armies on this map is relatively common. And that could also play into effect not just to Showtime's response, but it could also play into TLO's response. Knowing that that's a very common bit of the meta and wondering, hey, is TLO feeling good about that? Is he feeling bad about it? Does he have some special builds that he likes to execute against players to try and punish that? Similar to how True did with his Overlord Queen drops to try and punish Peely Peely earlier on. If TLO has something like that prepared, then this could really be a big turnaround point. But if he doesn't, if this has been something he's been struggling against, could end up turning out very, very rough for him. Eva Chambers coming down, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I don't think that's an incredibly early evolution chamber, but it does leave that possibility. I was talking about how True went for those Overlord drops very early on, catching his opponent off guard. If he does something like that, he is actually morphing in one Overlord, could drop an elevator some of these Zerglings in. It's not going to be the same thing that True went for. He's not going to be transitioning his Queens all the way across the map and getting up Overlord speed, but Showtime does not quite catch a glimpse of this just yet. Oracle makes its way across the map. Showtime really doesn't have a whole lot at home. Overlord finally gets spotted out. Showtime should be fully aware of it as he moved his Stalker in position to try and snipe away at this Overlord. Only 3 Zerglings in the mix, though. It's a very, very light attack. Forces out. Oh, this is actually really cute. If he got away with the Overlord, I would say it was really cute and nice maneuver. But it ends up dying, unfortunately. Just 3 Zerglings loaded up made me think, oh, TLO is going to try and bait out Photon Overcharges and go in with a big attack later on. Throw down the Roach Warren and maybe make something happen, but it doesn't seem like he's really able to do so. And he was still droning up until just recently. He's still sitting on 49 workers and only now getting up that Roach Warren, getting up the Spore Crawlers. Oracle making its way across the map. Looks like that first Oracle went down pretty quickly. So nice pick off for TLO. Second Oracle in the mix. Really impressive that TLO was able to get the pick off over there. I think it was because the Overlord drop came in at the exact same time that the Oracle may have moved into the natural, and Showtime may have just lost vision of it, or sorry, not lost vision, but lost attention for it. Ended up losing the Oracle to maybe the Queen or something, as I can't imagine what else damaged the Queen. As yeah, that Queen has 1 Oracle kill. Very nicely done. And with no Spore Crawlers too. That's not something that happens very often. Robotic Facility is going to be the follow-up, though, as well as the Twilight Council researching Resonating Glaives. Probably wants to move that Chronobus off of the Stargate at this point. It's whenever he does notice it. As he already has his 1 Voidery added into the Adept attack. I think the Oracle is still out of the map, so could try and get some extra damage done, but for now it's just going to be acting as that extra vision. Roaches will be popping out relatively shortly. He's got 7 Roaches out right now, but are those going to be enough to actually defend against this number of Adepts and that Void Ray? And even the Oracle can get added into the mix. Throwing down a Stasis Trap or something could be really effective, but Spore Crawler not even finished up over here. Oh, nice Corrosive Bile. Knocks down the health of that Oracle. Could get picked off with some nice Focus Fire from TLO. He does pick it off. That's going to be 1 less thing to worry about, but the Adept Shade onto the Natural Expansion, killing off 6 workers already. Potentially going to be able to kill off a few more, but the Zerglings start making their way in. Focus firing down each one of these workers. These Adepts are going to shade their way into the main base. And I think that the Showtime's definitely finding some value for the damage that he was looking for. Oh! Some friendly fire on those drones that were attacking the Adepts. Got Corrosive Bile down. 13 workers is some really good damage for Showtime. Making up for the early Oracle loss for certain. and definitely even up this game a bit. TLO, though, does have a 4th expansion finished up and has his Hydra Den finished, getting up his upgrades for movement, speed, and range. Gonna throw down a Baneling Nest. Okay. So it looks like he wants to go get out some Banelings and maybe go for a big attack. I don't know how effective this attack is going to be over the 3rd. I mean, he did kill off quite a few units, but some Photon Overcharge is going to make this very difficult to bust in with just a handful of units. Ravagers, though, do change the ties of battle, and full surround on those sentries. Even the Mothership Core gets Corrosive Biled, and Immortal comes in the mix, and Photon Overcharge pushes this army back. Oh, the Void Ray is going to seal the deal now, but definitely worth it for TLO to move out. I mean, he loses some of the Zerglings, sure, and may lose 1 or 2 roaches on the retreat, but he kills off some sentries, gets some good damage done, and of course scouts out. Yeah, I know exactly what you're moving into. You're continuing to produce adepts. You're making some of these immortals, and should be prepared for the next stage of the game. I don't know if you saw the High Templar. High Templars were there, but I don't know if they were warped in time for that push. I think that they were just warped in afterwards. TLO, though, getting up his own Lurker Den, getting up a Spire as well. That's always one of those dangerous situations where I like when a Zerg player opens up their options by teching into multiple tech paths around the same time, but you have to be so damn careful about how you do it, because if you just tech a little bit too quickly into too many tech paths, your opponents can punish you. They can move across the map, and yeah, you got a lot of different types of units and a lot of potential to make a bunch of Mutals or something, but it's really not a bunch of Mutals. It's more like 5 or 6 Mutals, and 5 or 6 Mutals, yeah, they'll be able to do a little bit, but even morphing in 1 or 2 Archons will easily handle that, alongside some Photon Overcharge for the defense, warping a couple of Stalkers, a-okay, no problem. The Lurkers are going to try to be handled by just the Immortals, but this is getting to that... It's getting to the point where TLO is not just going to have a Lurker Den finished up. He's going to have a pretty stellar economy to work with. He's got 13 Hydras out, and he could make probably 10 of those into Lurkers if he really wants to. And I think it may be very, very close alongside the timing of when this push comes in. I believe Charge is finished up over here for Showtime, so this is the prime time to attack. He's got to be so careful about this. 5 Lurkers now being morphed in. Logar and Hatchery are going to be vulnerable, but at the same time, I almost like the fact that it's probably going to buy time for TLO, because that extra little bit of time is going to allow him to situate some Lurkers up on the high ground, cover those ramps. The Zealots and everything else starting to work away at this Hatchery, and the rest of the units that are trying to move down. Lurkers managed to find a position very, very far forward. I don't think there's any observers with this army. Okay, there's one observer somewhere. Really good storms coming out from Showtime. And it looks like the observer is finally joining up with the army. Only just came in. A couple Corruptors in the mix. Could try and go for the snipe off on the observer, but the Overseer gets sniped off, and he's not gonna have detection for it anymore. The Lurker's getting some good damage done at first, but after all the Zealots and the Depths have been picked off, there are still the Archons and the Immortals left over. TLO dropping an army supply, sitting down 30 supply there, and trying to rally in as many units as possible, but no, they are all getting picked off as soon as they get involved in the battle. Showtime has already taken out 1 of the 5 bases, and it looks like he's not going to need to go through the trouble taking out the rest. He takes the 2-0 victory over TLO and moves on to the semifinals. Well done by Showtime. I want to say flawless victory. I can't really think of too many things that didn't go his way or went not so great. There were a couple of moments in that game where I was like, oh, you know, TLO's just seems super prepared. He picked off the Oracle very early on, but after that, everything just seemed to go very well for Showtime. He did a great job with that. And again, moves on to the semifinals. We'll find out who he ended up facing off against in a little bit, but let's get that next match started up. As we hop into, let's see, Nurchio versus Strange. Sweet deal. This should be a good one. Of course, everybody knows how good Nurchio is. Strange is a Protoss player that lives up to his name. He oftentimes plays a strange style of Protoss. He's not afraid to deviate from some of the norms. We're hopping back onto Abyssal Reef, so we're going to play that map intro one more time, just to give myself a bit of chance to drink some water and breathe some fresh air for a little bit instead of just talking. So see you guys on Abyssal Reef.